The average interaction with a chatbot costs between 10 and 25 cents.
Mm-hmm.
The average interaction with a human agent costs between $6 and $10. So
Wow,
there's a
that's a massive
massive,
difference.
yeah, there's a huge difference.
Today, we have a very interesting conversation about AI chatbots. And I think that if you're a business owner, you obviously always want to utilize tools that allow you to be ever present for your customers, especially if they may need you out of office hours. The bigger that your company gets, the more clients that you serve, I think the more important this becomes. And we're going to start this conversation. I have Scott Porter here. He's a co-founder of CloudNow Consulting, and they specialize in consulting companies on which AI tools to leverage, how it could improve their operations and their sales. So thanks for joining, Scott.
My pleasure.
So how do you help customers, like a broad overview before we start?
Sure. So we are a technology agent. So our whole role is to assist companies who are looking at communications requirements, whether that's contact center or unified communications or connectivity among their sites and out to the internet, and then also with security. So that's really our focus. AI comes into both security and contact center very strongly. Probably contact center is the piece of technology that is most aggressively using artificial intelligence at this point. And so we're really finding a lot of people that are interested in having that conversation.
Of course, because it'll improve the experience, hopefully, if they do,
Yeah.
right, for the customer. And then also improve customer experience leads to retention, leads to more customers, leads to increased reputation and all of that, which
Yep.
is what
Absolutely.
business is about. So
Yes.
the first question I have for you today is one of the lesser evils of AI, or it's a two-edged sword, right? Where
Yeah.
it's amazing that it's existing, it's getting better, but the optionality can make it overwhelming for a business owner because yes, we have AI chatbots now, but you have an option of 100. So how does, at least, right? That's probably like an understatement. So how does a business approach choosing the right AI chatbot for their needs?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And really, it starts off with why a customer would want to use a chatbot at all. And again, contact center is one of the best places to use chatbots today. And the reason for that is it's difficult to attract and retain contact center agents. And you definitely can't grow that linearly as your business grows. So you want to try to offload some of the work onto an AI chatbot. And just as an example, the average interaction with a chatbot costs between 10 and 25 cents.
Mm-hmm.
The average interaction with a human agent costs between $6 and $10. So
Wow,
there's a
that's a massive
massive,
difference.
yeah, there's a huge difference. Plus, that chatbot, because it's scalable, can grow with your business without you having to add a whole lot of additional headcount to your business right when you're getting started out. So what you really want to figure out, just like any other project, is what's your desired outcome? What is it that you want your chatbot to do? Is it for customer service? Is it going to be for sales? Maybe it's for some kind of internal support. For example, a retail business might benefit from a chatbot that can handle frequent customer inquiries and process orders, just taking care of processing the order, like chatbots for H&M and Sephora do.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it's like which one, based on the company's vision, whether it's internal, external, and what exactly it's going to do.
Yeah.
Once that's decided, does that answer the question with which one to use? Because are some companies just more versed, like, oh, this chatbot is for operations, this is for customer service. So does that lean down the variety?
It does. So any artificial intelligence is trained, you could say, through a large language model. And so what is included in that large language model that you're training your chatbot on is determined by what kind of function it's going to perform. So whether you have a retail function where it's helping you to place orders or a technical assistance function where it's looking stuff up in manuals, you're going to train that on different large language models.
Okay. And is there this false belief that from business owners, I don't know if you've actually experienced this, I could see both sides, where if I have a chatbot, my customers are not going to interact with it because they're going to know it's AI and they only want to talk to a human.
That is a common concern when people are going to implement chatbots. There are a couple of things there. Number one, I think the main reason that people have that perception is because of older chatbots, which were not based on conversational artificial intelligence. And so the problem there was that those chatbots were able to resolve issues less than 30% of the time. A modern conversational chatbot can resolve issues greater than 60% of the time. So it's doubled in effectiveness. But a lot of people get that perception in their mind from the older chatbots that they were using, and they're concerned about it. So it's definitely important to be able to hand off to a human agent when absolutely necessary. But I think we're going to find more and more people are getting comfortable with the newer generation of chatbots, especially younger generations who would do almost anything to avoid actually interacting with another human being.
Yeah, the funny part is that they may assume that we don't want to talk to a chatbot, but what happens when they realize, oh no, they prefer the chatbot over
Yeah.
us?
I think we're on the horizon there. I think we can see that coming.
Yeah, right. And what have you seen, like in the clients that you and Rochelle serve at CloudNow? Where are they first using these chatbots? Is it more external, like customer facing, or is it actually more internal?
It's more customer facing. Mostly it's for contact centers that are using the chatbots to perform really low level functions for customers. So I talked about difficulty attracting and retaining agents. If you can offload some of their work to a chatbot, then now that agent focuses only on higher level, more complex tasks, which also increases their customer satisfaction or their employee
Mhm.
satisfaction rather. So when you're handing off to a chatbot, you're allowing it to do the more basic kinds of things and letting the agents handle more complex stuff.
And how does, and of course, this is probably where your consulting and training comes in. Is it once they start asking these questions, or once we get into the territory of this topic, the function of the chatbot is to hand it over to a real life agent? Because how does one kind of design a pathway or a blueprint for a chatbot to enhance the experience versus make it a nightmare? Because as a customer of many companies, 99% of the experiences with chatbots are actually very frustrating, and they make you want to like squeeze your phone so how do you design a positive one?
Yeah, so you do need to create a chatbot that has a clear and friendly tone, that it understands and processes user requests effectively and knows when to hand off to a human agent. So there's absolutely a point at which the chatbot needs to recognize that it's not going to be able to complete this function, and at that point, rapidly hand off to a human agent to take care of it. On the other hand, you can create these friendly, engaging chatbots like Domino's has, for example, that actually it's a kind of a playful way to order your pizza by interacting with this chatbot.
I've never experienced that. Now I feel like ordering a Domino's pizza.
It's interesting because Domino's years ago decided that they were going to become, frankly, more of a technology company than a baker. And so they were like the first company to implement things like tracking so that you knew when the pizza was going to arrive. And they've been out on the cutting edge of technologies, customer facing technologies for a long time.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that just goes to show no matter what industry the call center is part of, that these type of technologies could actually enhance the experience. But you really have to know who your customers are and what they expect when, and anticipate what those questions will be. So
Yeah.
what are the biggest challenges that you see when companies are really trying to get serious about implementing a chatbot? Is it that they don't have organized data? What is it?
It can definitely be that they don't have organized data. It's really all about integrating with the existing environment. You need to make sure that it understands the internal data and uses it correctly. You also need to train it to understand the specific jargon and nuances of your business and your industry overall. And then finally, you really need to thoroughly plan and test, especially test. I mean, how many stories have we all heard about AI systems being released and then having to be recalled or pulled back because they weren't functioning properly or they started to say things that were wildly inappropriate?
Yeah, and which you don't want, because then that just turns into an even worse customer service experience, and then you have to fix that situation. So,
Yeah.
where have you seen successful implementations other than, let's say, Domino's? What are some examples that you've seen that have been very pleasant?
So there are a couple of them. One is Sephora has a chatbot on Kick that offers makeup tutorials and gives product recommendations, and it greatly increases user engagement. So the users are engaging with that chatbot, and it's getting engagement out of customers. There's also Erica by Bank of America, which is a financial guidance chatbot, and it provides financial guidance to over 25 million users. It helps with transactions and credit reports and bill payments. It's a very interactive bot. We work with a couple of companies that actually create avatars for their chatbots. So it
Oh, that's
looks
cool.
like you are talking to an actual human being, which is a little unsettling right at first because this person is just there and waiting for you to give it a prompt to do something, and it doesn't do anything until you give it a prompt. And so it's a little unsettling, but once you get used to it, it's actually really cool, and then you feel like you're then having a conversation with a real person based on the inputs that you're providing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you find that it really depends on the culture of the brand, whether they should have an avatar or not, and what type of avatar that they should have, right? Because
Yeah.
maybe some brands should lean more towards realistic avatars versus some could use more cartoon avatars. So
Yeah, like, maybe something based on your logo or your mascot or, something like that.
let's talk about the ethical side, because I know a lot of companies haven't really even been able to use ChatGPT commercially because of the ethical stuff of how their data is out there and all that stuff. What are the ethical considerations with some of these chatbots? What LLMs are they custom, or who are they using?
So that is kind of the problem with ChatGPT. Its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness, which is it's trained on the entire internet, basically.
Mhm.
So there are billions and billions of pieces of data and relationships that it's mapping in its large language model. Some of it is not even correct, right? You always have to check ChatGPT to make sure that it didn't pull from some suspect site. And also, you're right, you've got to be very careful about typing your proprietary data into a ChatGPT request because it's then searchable by ChatGPT. So you definitely got to be careful with that. The main ethical considerations are number one, security, and number two, data privacy. So you really need to make your customers feel good that the interaction that they're having with your AI assistant, your chatbot, is secure and that nobody else is watching it and nobody else is going to get access to that information outside the company. But also, from a data privacy perspective, you need to make sure that your chatbot is complying with GDPR and other regulations around data privacy. And you need to be very clear with your customers what data is being collected and how it's going to be used. So if you can convince your customers that you are anonymizing the data and that you are securing the transactions, that goes a long way toward helping customers overcome their concerns about the ethical deployment.
And do you, in your advisory, do you and Rochelle steer companies the right way? Do clients come to you knowing this, or is that something that you have to present to them?
A lot of these chatbots are available kind of out of the box with specific use cases intended. And all of those are going to include these considerations. So it's going to be something that's going to be discussed during the planning phase.
Are some chatbots better than others, or technologies better than others when it comes to different cultures? We have clients globally, but some companies, just by what they do, they can only serve people in the US and they're serving a very specific market. So, how does that get trained in for different languages, different cultures?
Yeah, so chatbots are based on natural language processing, NLP, which you're going to train them within a certain culture as you kind of build them out. So if you're using different languages, and that's another key differentiator is how many languages you can train a chatbot on. And if you're using the natural language processing and you're training it on the cultural norms for the areas that you're going to be serving, then at that point, it's going to be respectful and effective across multiple cultures because it'll understand who it's dealing with and what their expectations are.
And what are some of the tools for business owners or businesses that maybe they want to test out building a chatbot? What are the ones that you have found to be most helpful?
So there are a bunch of tools if you want to develop your own. There's Dialogflow, there's Microsoft Botnet Framework, IBM Watson Assistant are all really good tools if you want to build out your own. And they have extensive documentation on all three of those tools to support developers at pretty much any skill level. So if you want to go out and play around with it, that's really the place to go, is kind of those three platforms. At the same time, like I said, there are a number of off the shelf chatbots that are available, and you can come to us and we'll be more than happy to help you figure out which one makes the most sense for your application.
And by off the shelf, these chatbots have been almost pre-trained a little bit. They have a little bit more direction and function, and then they can be personalized for that particular business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And give an example of one.
All right. So we had demonstration from one particular chatbot company, and literally what they did, we were on the phone with the customer, and it's a manufacturing customer, and they make parts for vehicles. So on the actual demo call with the customer, the chatbot provider put in the website for this manufacturer, and within 5 minutes, it was able to answer, what shocks do you have for a Toyota Tacoma pickup truck? And it came up with three different options that were available that would fit that year of Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. And that hadn't even been programmed at that point. It just went out to the website, it found all the information, it crawled through it, and it's able to return answers very quickly. So you can get these things up and going very, very quickly. Then you want to tune them to make sure that they're very specific for what your exact business does. But in terms of learning, the better the documentation that you have, obviously, the faster it's going to be able to learn. These guys had a great website. And so we were able to very, very quickly access the information on it and be functional.
And do you also advise some of these teams, as because once the chatbot is deployed, it's not just letting it run, it's learning where it could be improved. And I'm guessing that that comes from the data collected from the chatbot and how it
Yep.
interacts with the customers. So do
Yeah.
you also help on that end? Because that's kind of an ongoing process.
Yeah, it's the continuous improvement concept. So, absolutely, we're going to help the customer look at the data, understand where the chatbot is not being successful, and figure out if there's something that we need to do differently to make it successful in that particular area, or make it understand that it's got to hand that off to a human agent as soon as that subject comes up or that kind of request comes up. You can also look at the chatbot and see what kinds of questions are being asked, and then use that for product development. So if somebody's asking a question about a particular type of product that is adjacent to what you manufacture already, maybe that's a market that you should be looking at getting into, and you develop a product to go after that market because everybody kind of expects that you're going to have it. And we've seen that happen in a number of cases where people looked at the data that was coming in, figured out that they didn't have the product that a lot of customers were asking for, launched that product, and it took off really fast.
I mean, that in and of itself was worth gems right there, because it's true. Like if they keep asking for a certain truck part or a certain hitch and they don't have it, now they're like, oh, we need to get this. And
Right.
having that data can prove to a supplier that there's going to be sales.
Yep.
So maybe it could lead like some room for negotiation
Yeah.
from the supplier. So where can people contact you, Scott?
Well, you can contact us through our LinkedIn profiles or info@cloudnowconsulting.com. And you can check out our website at cloudnowconsulting.com and fill out a contact form there as well. So either through our profiles, whether that's my personal profile, Rochelle's personal profile, or the CloudNow profile, and then through our website, or just email us.
I love it. And I'll link Scott and Rochelle's website and their LinkedIn profiles in the description. Thank you so much for coming today, Scott. All right, everyone. Ciao.
Thank you.